Hello everybody, this is Bill McFadden from Tone Pure Music, and in this video we're going to take a look at Capriccio, and it's a phrase-based library. So just to give you an example of the instruments we have, there are 52 string players, 12 woodwind players, 6 percussion, we have 2 melodic percussion, and 15 brass players. We also have 4 recorded microphone positions, and we have individual controls, including what's called harmonic shift, which is quite useful. You can do phrase offsets for syncopation purposes, and also you can play the phrases at the original speed, or you can do 2 times or 1/2 depending on your needs, or it has the intelligent tempo mapping mode, which intelligently selects the correct playback, which primarily should be the original recorded speed, unless for some reason, depending on your tempo and your DAW, that doesn't work. And in the percussion patch, we have xylophone, glockenspiel, tubular bells, and piano phrases, which is quite interesting. This package does include percussion as well as the brass strings and winds. And the phrases are composed in 4/4, and it includes straight 8ths and 16th notes. So let's go ahead and start with the strings patch, and I'll just go ahead and play. Now, as you know, with this library, you actually, where the blue keys are, blue lighted keys, you need to play a triad, either a major or minor triad. So by doing that, I invoke the current patches, and right now there are 3 of them. There's the, let me go ahead and close this. We have the low, usually this section is your lows. If you click on that, then you see it's actually looking at the low phrases. The low phrases, there are a variety to choose from. There's another one. And the graphic sort of describes what the phrase is going to sound like. And here you can see there's like a little arpeggio thing going. Not quite, but similar. And then here's the other. And we have, as you can see, several more. Here's another one. And this is just the low. We also have a bunch of choices for medium and the high register of the strings. So let's take a look at it. So we have crescendo, decrescendo. So now the nice thing about this library is, in addition to all these various phrases, now if I play, I'll play a C minor chord here. And then these key switches right here, starting at middle C. So this goes back to that group of selections of phrases. There's 3 more selections of phrases. There's 3 other ones. And you can choose them any way you want. So I could take, let's say, the first set, which sounds like this. And maybe I want to change the bass section, so I can click on here and audition which one I want to use. Suppose we go with this. So if I just click on it, it automatically inserts it in. So now we have this pattern. And the other two are muted, so now I can bring those in. And maybe I want to change this section up here, so I can go ahead and maybe choose another sort of a single note pattern. And maybe I want to change this middle level here. Maybe something like this, a wide arpeggio. So let's go ahead and choose that. So here you're muting that, you just hear that pattern. I can bring in the higher strings. And then the lower. And remember, you can change chords. So that's your strings. And then we have the same concept with the brass. So if I just play the single chord, so I'm using these keys here. This is A flat above middle C. That selects a different group. And then again, you can change each of those 4 groups. Now, one of the nice things about Capriccio and many of their other libraries is you click on the score icon and you can see what notes they're actually playing. And even as you change chords, you can see the score as you go up chromatically, the scale, to see whatever chord it is you're playing. And not only that, you can drag the MIDI into your DAW, and you can use either Sonokinetic instruments, or you could use your own. Maybe you have some Berlin strings, or maybe you have some Spitfire strings, or Spitfire brass, or Berlin brass that you want to incorporate these MIDI data and play through the Spitfire or the orchestral tools. Or maybe you just want a double. So you have these choices. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first patch, which is at A flat above middle C, that configuration. So let's start with the bottom. Let's go ahead and mute the top and middle, and then we'll just listen to the bottom. Then we'll look at our choices. So here it looks like we have some eighths, half notes, quarter notes. Let's see, maybe. Then some syncopation going on, some more syncopation in eighths, it looks like. So very common kinds of patterns for brass. Or even right here. And we're actually in the low, as you can see, section here. So a lot of variety. Then we have similar choices for the mid brass, which would be more likely trumpets and horns, and here definitely your horns. Also, the mid could include trombones. There's some trumpets there. And you can tell because if you want to know what that is, that obviously sounds like horn. So if I click on it and then I look at the sheet music, see which one we played here. There's your horns. So we're actually playing the low register there. Because when you click on it, that tells you you're in your mids. And you can play low, mid, or high in either of these three bands. If we look at these as bands, top, middle, and bottom band. So in the middle band, I can play low, middle, or high. When I click on an icon, there's mid currently selected, but we could do high if we wanted to. Sounds like horns, so let's go ahead and select that. Okay, I have them all muted now, so let's unmute that. So if I select this pattern, and then I look at the sheet music, we can see what's going on. We have like alternating between notes with the horns, and then this syncopated pattern and the horn on the top, horns 1 and 2. So you have 4 horns altogether. So also when you're looking at the sheet music, it lets you know your instrumentation. Apparently we have up to 6 horns and looks like possibly 3 trumpets. They don't specifically get into the breakdown of the brass, the 15 brass, but by going through the MIDI, or actually by going through the notation, you can figure out what the instrumentation is. So here was our second configuration. So quite an extensive phrase library for the brass as well as the strings. And then we have Woodwinds. So here's the, if you look at E above middle C, then you get the first pattern of the 3 bands. Second pattern. So we have these 4 different patterns, and we have our high, mid, low bands, and each of the bands, suppose I click on the low band, I can choose from high, mid, or low for my pattern. So let's suppose we pick this well, let's audition it. So if I choose that, and we're currently on the 4th pattern in the group, the G above middle C. And I just changed the lower band. The mid band has this pattern, which sort of sounds like that transposed. Let's try this. Let's go ahead and select that. And let's change the upper band. It's being, right now there's a high pattern in it. And if you look at the icon here, this graphic, you can match it up down here. There it is there. And we could change that to maybe an arpeggio. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay, let's put in the arpeggio. So you can change these things around. And notice if I hit the E above middle C, then we get the first configuration, which sounds like this. If I do a major, you hear the difference. Minor. Just changing chords around. So that's the Woodwinds. And then we have percussion. And this is a different, slightly different interface. We do have the three bands again. Let's listen to percussion. Here's your first key switch, which is actually C5. Sonokinetic calls it C4. Then going to the F, we got that group. And then at G, we got this. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at these different patterns. I'll go back to E, and then let's look at the lower pattern, or the lower band, and they're actually using the low group here. So these are the patterns that we can audition. And then here's a, whoops. If you don't click right on the, okay, let's go back to where we were. If you don't click right on that speaker icon, it'll switch you back. So there we hear some snare, bass drums, more snare, some tones. And again, you can look at it, okay, the notation. So if I look at that notation there, it gives you the rhythmic pattern. It doesn't iterate the instruments in this case, for that particular one anyway. Let's choose that one. Here's your notation. So again, the rhythmic pattern is given, which is a nice thing about these libraries. And then we have, in addition to the low, we have the mid rhythmic patterns. And you can sort of see just by looking at these little diagrams what it's going to sound like. Let's click on that, look at what we got. So very nice, correlating the rhythmic pattern to the actual music. So, and then we have, in addition to the mids, we have the highs. So you have more patterns here. So there you have some cymbals. Let's go ahead and choose this pattern, look at the notation. So that's what you see. Now, in addition to having the percussion patch, they have multi-sample percussion, and you can see where here you have your piatti and tam-tams, and that's the blue keys down here in the NKS system. Then you have some, then we see the low drums for the next octave or so, and then we have some flans and low drums. Just going up the keys chromatically. There you have some iron hits. Higher drums. Some more iron hits. Then some piatti hits. And then next on our list is pitch percussion, which is pretty cool. You have these 3 groups again. So now you hear the xylophone, you hear the chimes we talked about, and the piano. Let's go ahead and take a look at the music notation for the lower group here, the lower band. It actually spells it out. You have your piano, and then your tubular bells up there, your Glock, your xylophone. So for this particular phrase, we're just using the piano. And we can solo that by muting the upper 2. So if I play a chord, so just going through a few chords, we get that. And then in the piano, if we have, here's your choices for piano. So for suspense, you could use that particular phrase. Could work nicely. Same with that one. Whoops, missed the icon. Let's try that again. Very suspenseful, tension kind of phrases. And then here. So if you want to see that pattern, there it is. Just an octave going back and forth with 16 notes. And again, you can drag the MIDI in any of these. Okay, let's take a look at this one here. Looks like the same, maybe an octave lower, different register. That's cute. Syncopated. So in addition to the piano and their phrases, we have woods, your xylophone, that could be useful there. That's good. That very useful overall. And then the iron phrases. Let's choose this one and look at the there's your pattern for your Glock. This one doesn't seem to be working. Let's see what it is. Notationally, okay. Like a little arpeggio with a Glock. I'll play it. I'll go ahead and mute the other muted. There we go. That's what it sounds like. But if we click on the audition, okay, now it's working. Okay, and then here's another one. Those are chimes. So that's the selection you have for your phrases for those three groups. And as we, let's go ahead and unmute these two and get all three of them. These are the choices they gave us. And again, you can change any of these configurations according to your own tastes and purpose. And another thing you can do, if you just want a quick change of all three without selecting them individually, you can just click on the O, and it automatically gives you a new random configuration, which is pretty cool. If I click on the O again, so you can go through and audition whatever pattern is automatically generated instead of doing them yourselves just for creativity purposes, just to get some ideas. And you can do the O thing, click on the O and Capriccio and any of the brass, string, woodwinds, or percussion where they have it listed. And there's more. We have runs and with woodwinds and strings. So here you have a so that would be that first so now we're doing this pattern here. So there's a chord recognition area, which is down here. And then these little keys right here give you runs 1 and 2, mute on and off. And then you have the harmonic shift. So you can shift the runs and so on. Let's go ahead and take a look at the phrases that we have. So there you have a run, another run. So there's one, these are 2 octaves, that's 1 octave. So this is a little lower than this one. The line through it basically drops down a register. Here you have run going up and down. That'll be an octave lower. We have a run in a shorter period of time. And then you have a 2 octave run. Actually, a little more than that. It's got a little. And again, if you want to see exactly what's going on there, click on that, then look at the notation. So you can see exactly what notes are playing, which is really one of the nice things about this library. And so looking at our woodwind runs, let's see, I think we've gone through most of those. And then for strings, your string runs, you don't have quite as many, but then an octave lower, then up and down, octave lower, up and down, then up and down. So you can do combinations of those. So here I'm hitting, well, I'll do a C minor chord. So here's a C major chord, F major, so you can hear it changing. There's a G minor, F major, and up here I'm doing harmonic shift. So what it does is take your root chord and starts harmonically shifting it. So if I just do an E minor, oops, these got muted. So now we have Woodwinds and again, you can change these around. You have your choices. So we can change our strings to any one of those patterns and so on. So that pretty much takes us through the library, all the various capabilities it has. You've got your strings, your brass, your woodwinds, your percussion, multi-sample percussion, pitch percussion, and then runs with woodwinds and strings. So this is Bill McFadden. If you like this video, please click like. If you wish to subscribe, then please click on the icon of my portrait or below my portrait at the end of this video coming up right now. So this is Bill McFadden signing off from Tone Pure Music.